Second Salem Brewing Company here in Whitewater. I'm Gary Douglas along with Josh Smith from D3Football.com, and welcome to our UW-Whitewater Quarterback Club and Coaches Show tonight. Coming up a little bit later on, we'll be talking to Assistant Coach Kyle Subanowski, and he has been with the program for a long time, both as a player and a coach. And our student athlete this evening will be Dylan Moran. But we'd like to welcome to the program the head coach, Kevin Bullis. Kevin, thanks for joining us tonight. Warhawks had a tough game up in Oshkosh last Saturday, losing 10-7, and we were talking about it earlier this morning, Kevin, and the fact that even though you lost the ball game, you still were able to rally late in that ball game and put yourself in a position to either tie or possibly even win that ball game.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, and the thing is, you don't want to hinge it on one play. We didn't complete the field goal by any means, but you're really proud of the guys of rallying that thing and pushing that thing down there in a high-stress environment, and obviously it didn't come to fruition. But, you know, and that's the thing. One of the things that we've always talked to our players about for many years here at UW-Whitewater is, hey, don't concentrate on the situation that you're in. Concentrate on your job. And that means, you know, individually, collectively focusing on the job. And the guys did that. Didn't come to fruition. Oshkosh deserved to win the game, and that's what it was.
As far as the way the game was played, I know Oshkosh put the ball on the ground a few times. Didn't necessarily result in a turnover, but does that indicate that maybe the players were playing physically and, you know, up to standards as far as efforts concerned? You know,
there's no doubt. I mean, anytime you play Oshkosh, you know, a WIAC game is pretty dang physical, but especially Oshkosh and you know, there's other teams in our leagues that play extremely physical. Those types of games are going to happen, and it was that type of game. We were able to get the ball out, I think 6 times, and ball didn't bounce our way. You know, the thing that we look at it as, hey, we don't look, you know, we are always looking to try to get better. Hey, maybe we should try to get it out 7 times. You know what I mean? And that's the mentality that we really take it as. Have I been in a game where we caused 6 fumbles and didn't get a recovery out of it? I don't know if I can remember one, but it's not luck, you know, in that sense, and that's one of the things we really emphasize to our players. You know, don't worry about those things, worry on what we can do to get better. That's just what it is.
When you take a look at the schedule, and we talked about this really from the very beginning of the season, that this was a pretty rough stretch that you had to go through with Morningside, Platteville, and then Oshkosh. And I don't know how many teams in the country, maybe the exception of the Minnesota League, that will have that type of a stretch to have to go through. And I think for the most part, even though you didn't go undefeated, to go 2-1 in that schedule is something that you can feel pretty good about.
You know, that's no doubt about it. I mean, we feel good in the sense that we've played some good opponents. Again, Gary, I mean, for us, ultimately, we look at it as we don't get caught up in the record piece as so much as we get caught up in what we got to do to get better. And that was, anytime you play these types of levels of teams, you're going to be able to find out where your flaw is, where your strengths are, and then you got to build on that. And that's the most important piece of the game. You know, again, we don't get caught up in the record piece of it as much. But yeah, I guess if we wanted to, we could feel good about that we finished in that manner. But we have kind of a high standard for ourselves, so we expect higher.
As far as that standard is concerned, following a loss, it's important to see how, I guess, people react. How the players kind of approach the situation coming off a really close, difficult loss.
You know, and that's something, you know, really a year, not a year ago, but back in February, or shortly after I was hired, I had a meeting with our seniors, and one of the things we talked about, and we talked about a lot of things in that meeting, but one of those things we talked about is, hey, what is your plan if we lose a game? What is your plan? And in the sense of how do you want to manage that as seniors? How do you want to manage that as leaders? And that's very important in life. I mean, it's just like anything in life. Bad things happen in life. You know, when you get to be my age, okay, if I lose my job, how am I going to pay my mortgage? Well, have a plan. And that was really what I said to the guys, is what is your plan on how to manage this? And everything they said last spring, they did this past week. And I'm really proud of them. Very proud of the senior leadership, very proud of our staff, and very impressed with it. I mean, Coach O'Grady, who's been coaching a really long time, he even said to me today, he goes, this has been an amazing week, seeing everybody come together and really circle the wagons, get them tight, and really that's an impressive piece, and that's the greater good of these types of experiences. In anything you deal with adversity in life, to be able to learn from it and make yourself better, we have made ourselves better. That's what's exciting.
One of the things you told me earlier today, and I think that was a good sign for this week, Kevin, is that the players were ready to play right away again, weren't they? They wanted to put everything behind them and get back out on the field again right away.
If we could have got lacrosse here Tuesday night, I think we would have had a game. But I don't know if Joe Corral, our game management personnel, would agree with me on that. But no, the guys are really excited to get back to the roll. And there's no doubt there's something about getting into that next game. When you deal with an adverse game or whatever it may be, there's always that next opportunity that you work towards. And there's kind of a cleansing that happens when you really start focusing in on that next opponent, that next game. And that's where we're at right now.
Certainly, it's kind of a new experience for many of the players on the team to experience that loss, but it's also kind of a new experience for some of the coaches on staff. I guess, how have you seen, guys on your staff approach this week, getting ready for this next game?
That's a great question, Josh, because we approach it in the same manner whether we win or lose. And that's the important piece, is you do approach it in a professional manner, whether you win or lose. There's been games, it's not about winning or losing. It's about achieving or underachieving. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you can win a game and underachieve. From our perspective, we shouldn't feel good about that in that sense. Now, we should feel good about it as a learning opportunity. Does that make sense? And we've won games where we've underachieved. And there's no doubt. We, in essence, don't feel ready to go celebrate that. You follow me? And to me, we look at it as, did we underachieve? Did we achieve? And it's not about the scoreboard. And our guys have done a great job that ultimately we underachieved in that game, whether the scoreboard said it or not. Had we made the field goal, win into overtime, win the game, we would not have felt good about that game. We underachieved. And that's great in the sense of the learning lesson piece. And that's what makes you better for the next game and down the road.
Let's follow up on the field goal for just a second, Kevin. It was into a very strong cross-field wind. I know Lake Athar has an incredible leg, and he's made some big kicks in the past. Was there ever any consideration of maybe trying to go for him on that down, or were you set with the field goal all the way on that?
Set with the field goal all the way.
Okay.
I mean, we had a little discussion about going for it, but ultimately, we got a lot of confidence in Lake. Lake's pretty dang good, and in my mind, one of the best in the country, and that was our choice, and we went with it. And looking back on it, I mean, that's one of the things, for me personally, because I'm the one that makes that decision, I would do it again. I have no qualms on that. I got a lot of faith in him, got a lot of faith in his strength of his leg, and that was right where we were at as far as his limit. That's one of the things that Coach O'Grady does as special teams coordinator. He hands me a card before every game, and he tells me where the limit is for our kicker, for Lake. And we were right on the limit. We were right there. And no, I have all the confidence in that.
Another important moment earlier in the game, Oshkosh gets on the board first with a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
You guys come right back, march down the field, and match them, tie the game back up. In terms of just getting a footing in the game, how important was that score there to get on board?
No doubt, that's very important that you're able to answer. In the sense of not so much answering, but as much as grabbing the tempo. And that's very important that you don't let a team like an Oshkosh grab the tempo of the game. And for our offense to go on the field and pull it back from them was crucial for us. Again, I knew at that point, you've seen a lot of Oshkosh-Whitewater games. I wasn't thinking it was going to turn into a 45-48 game at that point. We knew it was very important for us to answer at that point. We knew it was going to be a tight game, and it was.
We talked about this a little bit earlier today, Kevin, and the fact that Oshkosh really for the first time all year, we've seen a team that was able to get some defensive pressure, especially into our backfield. Chris Nelson actually wound up with pretty good numbers on the day, except he was sacked 4 times. Was there anything that Pat Cerrone did defensively that maybe you guys weren't quite prepared for, or did they just have a little bit better quickness, or was it just one of those things on Saturday?
You know, Pat's a widely old D coordinator. I shouldn't call him old. He's not that old, but he's got a lot of experience. And he does a great job of disguising and moving things around. He has a very unorthodox defensive scheme, which I think at times causes a little bit of confusion. More times than not, when there's a sack, it's not as simple as somebody beating somebody else. It often can be something that's a disguise and something that tries to gain an advantage, and that's really what Pat was able to do.
I am certain Oshkosh faced some challenges as they moved from their 2nd to 3rd string quarterback through that game, but I'm curious from a defensive point of view, are there challenges that come with facing quarterbacks you weren't expecting to see as the game goes on?
There's no doubt. I mean, because in all reality, for a lot of teams, when they have their quarterbacks, different quarterbacks have different strengths. And so what you do is you play to their strength. You know what I mean, in the sense of what type of pass plays, what type of concepts that you're going to do defensively or offensively, which then in the end results as a defense that you got to be able to say, hey, they're doing this with this quarterback, maybe we haven't seen him on film. And sometimes it's wait and see what this guy does. Where you start figuring out what is going to be kind of their main concepts they're going to try to do in that game.
And of course, the Whitewater Warhawks did come up with a turnover late in the game. Matter of fact, our guest here this evening, Dylan Moran, came up with that pass interception. You did get the turnover, but unfortunately on that particular series, you just couldn't take advantage of it at that point. You know,
and that was a big play, I mean, by Dylan. Dylan, one of the things that they've done historically against us is beat us on post routes. And that was something really all week that Dylan and the other, really our corners and our safeties had worked on all week, was in preparation for that. And that was one of our goals going into that game, was to be able to take the post away from them. And they tried to force the issue on it, and Dylan was able to take advantage of it.
Yeah, outstanding.
Results aside, Kevin, how would you assess where the team's at this point in the season?
I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled in the sense of them grasping this learning opportunity. I mean, I think tomorrow night you're going to see, I know you're going to see a fast and physical Warhawk team. And that's the thing that to me is I'm really proud of our not, I say our seniors, but they're the ones leading our team and just very excited about the maturity that they've approached this, and it should be an exciting night.
All right, looking forward to a game under the lights at Perkins Stadium tomorrow night, and we'll have it for you here on Cool 106.5 as per usual. Kevin, we'll let you take a break and a bite to eat. When we come back, we'll talk to Dylan Moran, who is one of the players that's going to be joining us this evening as the Quarterback Club and Cool 106.5 Coaches Show continues from 2nd Salem Brewing Company here in Whitewater on Cool 106.5.